Awesome. Welcome to our Winners Wednesday. I am super excited for today's topic, as this is one of the questions I get all the time that we know as real estate agents, part of our everyday job is prospecting and getting in front of buyers and sellers. But one of the biggest concerns that agents have is really overcoming, or one of the biggest obstacles is overcoming that fear. And so today, you probably recognize some of our very special guests that are on here every single month. We have Miss JB Hopkins all the way from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Mr. Ruben Garcia from Fayetteville, North Carolina. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I like the big cheesy smile, Ruben.
I got a Jeep, and when people wave, when they wave, when you got a Jeep, you wave when you got a Jeep. I'm like,
I can see you doing that.
You're like, freak. No, I'm just kidding.
That's kind of what I'm looking for.
What does your shirt say today, Ruben?
Don't suck at life.
I love
it. I know it's kind of down there a little bit, huh?
But true.
Yep.
It is true. That's awesome. So I'm really excited, like I said, for today's topic, because this is a question that we get all the time. JB and Ruben, I know you guys have been in the industry for a long time and you've seen almost everything. And so I want to talk about, for agents that understand that they need to treat real estate as a business, they need to be prospecting and control the outcome every single day. But the reality is they're scared, right? You're going to get no's, you're going to get doors slammed in your face, you're going to get hung up on. So first, how do you overcome that? And I'm going to start with one of the two beliefs that I believe. You have to believe in yourself and you have to believe in your product. So a lot of it starts with limiting beliefs. How did you guys overcome that as a new agent when you originally got into the business?
I actually taught a class on this yesterday, and I had to kind of really think back to that moment, to that person that I was when I was very scared to do this. But I know it sounds very cliche, but I ripped off the Band-Aid because I realized I no longer had the luxury to play it safe. Like, at that point in time in my life, I had to make money, and I could talk to people all day long. Just the prospecting, the cold calling was very weird, and it was really a mindset thing. So I just ripped off the Band-Aid. I was not great at it at first, but I just stayed the course and I just did it. And each day I just committed. That's really what it boils down to. I committed, and each day I got a little bit better and I got a little bit better. And before you know it, it was something that served my life very well over the past couple of years.
Yep. Totally agree. Yeah, no, I agree. And, it is a little weird to start doing the cold calling and stuff. It's just, you can talk to people, but once you get the cold calling, it could get a little weird, and maybe for some and scared as well. But as you know, I'm going to roll in with an acronym, and it's FYI for your information. FYI. So F is fear. And I think, we just talked about it, but I think it's healthy and I think it's good. The fact that you're feared means you're moving in the right direction. You're a little uncomfortable about what, with the action you're about to take, and you're not the only one. And most, I would say 98% of people who lean into it are feared, are scared. And if they're not, then they probably don't care. So the fact that you are a little scared to do it shows that you care. You care what you're going to sound like. You care what the receiving end is going to feel in terms of energy and value. I think F is great. So F that, I think I think fear is good. So lean into it. The fact that you're scared a little bit, I don't know if reflecting it 100% is the right thing to do. I think embracing it is a good portion of doing that as well.
I love it. And I like the, what'd you say, FYI?
FYI. Yeah, I haven't done the Y and I yet.
I was waiting for it. There's some anticipation.
I could dive into it. The why for me is not starting with a why, but the why, and just like JB said, she was like, yo, I had to make money. Like, I had to make money to fund something. Is it bills? Is it the life we desire? Is it more investment properties? Because she's an investor. So it's like, what is this? I need this for something. What is that why? And if you dig deep enough, and some people know exactly what it is, don't even have to dig too much. That should fuel you to move forward no matter how uncomfortable you are, because it's bigger than you. It has nothing to do with you. The way that you're getting in front of yourself and not taking action is kind of what you need to do. Is then, if you don't take that action, what you need to do probably is go back to your family or whoever that impact was and apologize to them and let them know you didn't do the thing you said you were going to do today to move this whole family unit forward. And it's your fault, and you should take ownership of that. But if your why is big enough, just like JB, if your why is big enough, you're going to take action no matter what it is. You know, you wanted to drive. Sorry.
My why at the time was not for an investment property. It was to keep my electric on, because that's where I was in life, and that's very real. And I think there's agents out there that are like, how am I going to put food on the table? How am I going to pay the bills? I realized that if I just learned this skill that we're talking about today literally unlocked unlimited income potential and a life for my children that I would have never imagined. And so it's hard, but it's so worth it on the other side.
Yeah, I know one thing that Gary Keller said back in the day, which kind of hit home to me, which was, you're not in the real estate business, you're in the lead generation business. And, you know, and that's every business out there forever. You know, they're not in the car business. They're not in the service business. Who are you going to service or give this product to if you don't have any leads? So that was a cool thing for me too, JB, was you're not in the real estate business. You're in the lead generation business, which is
Yeah.
a mindset shift as well.
Yeah. Love it.
No, absolutely. And I think you guys all brought great points. Is your why has to be bigger than your fear, right? So in the days that you don't feel like prospecting, that you remember why you're doing what you're doing, whether that's for your family, that's for, as JB mentioned, to keep the electric on, to keep your utilities on, to feed your family, to feed yourself, whatever that is. Now, so we understand that we need to know our why. We have to rip off the Band-Aid and just get in there and start doing it. But we also want to talk about practice makes you better, right? Practice didn't necessarily make you perfect. And I look at all the other industries, from actors, you know, before they hit the time to start filming, they've been practicing, or your athlete, that they practice thousands and thousands and thousands of hours before they ever hit the playing field. Why in real estate, a lot of times as real estate agents, we don't feel like we need to practice. We just want to get in there and get in front of the client and then just figure it out. But I think what I'm hearing you guys say is, yes, you need to rip off the Band-Aid, but you also need to prepare for that and practice first. So what does that look like, especially as you were getting into the industry initially?
Ruben,
Ruben, you're up. Yeah, I would say that's an and, though. It's not an or, right? Like, I don't think so. Where, you know, you get informed before you take action, and then you got those agents who just take action and try to figure it out. I think it's a little bit of both, you know, like, it's because there's no way I would have gotten to, and not saying that I'm big time or anything, but to the place I'm at now, if I would have just got ready to get ready through information and never really took action. So I think it's a mix of both. It's a blend. And most of the time, if you've set that appointment or you've set that commitment, your energy will meet you there. So it's time fills, or activities fill the time allowed. So you'll figure it out because you have that commitment that you have to be at a certain time or whatever. So yeah, no, I agree with that. And honestly, the I for FYI was information and implement. If implement starts with an I just thought about that. I think it does. But maybe not.
It does. You're good, Ruben. You're good.
So I'm from Fayetteville, North Carolina. All right. So there's a little bit of gap in education. But yeah, so it would be that it'd be information, because we do know how the foundation of a conversation sounds like for a buyer and a seller and a renter. The foundation is there. Now the implementation of actually taking it, like we were just saying, the and is important too. But yeah, we could easily, and so how do we bring this to a practical thing? JB, do you want to role play with me real quick, and maybe we'll show? All right, so you'll be a buyer, and I'll ask you the question. So the first thing I want to do is figure out the L or location. So I'd be like, oh, JB, I saw that you were looking in Fayetteville, North Carolina. What has you interested in Fayetteville?
oh, we just love the school district.
Awesome. And then now I'm going to go 3 deep. So what about that school district is important to you?
The ratings are great, and we've always wanted our kids to be in that district.
Oh man, I totally understand. I got kids as well. How many kids do you have?
4.
Four, four kids. That's awesome. That's great. That's great. Are you putting them all to work, or are they just kind of like mooching off you?
Well, they're still mooching. They're in elementary.
Okay, okay. Are they boys and girls? Is there a mix there?
I have 2 boys and 2 girls.
Awesome. I got 2 girls as well. Now, break off. Why did I go 3 deep? Because I needed to find that commonality between myself and the client, and we both have 2 girls. And I've went to elementary school here, and my oldest has went to elementary school here. So maybe there can be that commonality. Then the LPM is what I'm staying around. So the P. So that's great. So what price range, P? What price range are you looking to buy in, not look in? We're not looking for lookers. So what price point are you looking to buy in, JB?
I really don't want to go over 300,000.
300,000. Oh, okay. Okay, great. And then I'll go 3 deep there. And then the M. So have you talked to a mortgage professional yet?
No, not yet. We're just kind of beginning our search.
And then here's the script. That's great. The first step to buying a home is talking to a mortgage professional, because the worst thing I could do is show you a home that you absolutely fall in love with, and your kids, your 4 kids, absolutely fall in love with, only to find out we can't move forward. So it makes sense that we talk to a mortgage professional. Yeah, you think?
Absolutely, yes.
And then boom, we send them to the mortgage professional, and then we decide if they're approved or not. From there, we can move forward. But without that script, I might waste my time on a showing. I might put myself in a weird situation where the buyer wants to hurt me, because no one who's giving out their information to get pre-approved, more than likely, is going to come and hurt you at a showing or an open house or blah, blah, blah. So this is the importance of scripts. We already know the foundation of where it's going to go, and you're going to feel more confident in it. Thanks, JB, for playing
You're
with
welcome. And Ruben, I love that but for those of you who don't know, that is called LP Mama. I have used it since day one in real estate. Once you internalize it, I just taught a class to my team yesterday on scripting. They have homework the rest of the week to partner up and practice this. Once you start to internalize that and you have the education on what to say when you do make the commitment to sit down each day and make these calls, learning LP Mama literally for me unlocked my financial future. But I practiced it with my husband when I was cooking dinner. I practiced it in the car at a stoplight. I'd have my script. I'd role play in my head. I'd practice with a team member. But this was like 2015 when I really started focusing on my scripting, and I felt like I had to train like an Olympic athlete. And I did, and my business went from like here to here in a matter of like a year. It was insane. And the only thing that changed was me being super knowledgeable in that scripting, where I could get anybody on the phone and have a conversation with them.
100%. And so it's like, are you purposeful or are you participating? Right. And JB wasn't participating anymore. She was very purposeful. And so she had that paper probably at first when she was studying, which, by the way, Google it, guys. LP Mama, you'll have the whole thing, right? Like it doesn't. So,
Yeah.
And then print it out and just read it. Have it in front of you for the next buyer. There's a seller version too, but just Google that, and then you'll begin your foundation to your scripts.
Absolutely.
I love it. And what I really like about it is when people think of scripts, it sounds like, you're a robot and you're sitting there reading your script and, hi, are you looking to buy or sell or invest in real estate? Right. But that was just a conversation. And when I think about scripts, I don't think about a script that I have to read verbatim. I think about it as the anatomy of a conversation. And that's exactly what the LPM was. So Leslie asked, are you saying LP Mama? So I heard,
Yep.
I think Ruben said LPM and JB called it LP Mama. What's the Mama? Is there more to it?
It's location, price, motivation. Do you have an agent? Have you applied for a mortgage? Set the appointment.
There you go. That's the magic.
So the way that, and of course I did, right? So I've shrunk it to an LPM, but it originated from LP Mama. That's what I learned first. But the M for me, for mortgage professional, is going to tell me how motivated they are. If they're going to jump on a call with a mortgage professional, to me, they're motivated. And then after that, I have a whole different thing: bed, best square footage, top 3, the whole thing, and then plug it in and blah, 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 blah. Yep. But LP Mama is where it started. That's old school, baby. I love it.
And I'll tell you, for anybody who is interested, so I took the acronym and then I made a sheet that has a way to have the conversation with that square footage, like all the things. So if anybody wants that sheet, I'm happy. Just put your email address in the chat and I'll get that out to you today. It's been very helpful. Our team uses it every day.
I love it. So now we know that we need to practice LP Mama, right?
LP Mama.
But
or LPM.
right. So, but let me ask you this. So we understand we need to rip off the Band-Aid. We know our why. We know we're starting to practice LP Mama with our family members or our friends, but we still have that inner limiting belief that we're soliciting and that we're bothering people. How do you guys teach your teams to overcome that part of the prospecting process?
Well, I feel like that has to come from within. I feel like when you realize you're having a conversation and you're genuinely coming from a place of contribution, for me, it could be different for everybody, but for me, that helped to like, I am really trying to help people. I know that they're looking for a property. I have those resources. I'm always coming from a place of contribution. But when it comes to your mindset, I mean, I do silly things. My team laughs at me. We have Dialing for Dollars every Monday, and I'm like playing music very loud. I'm standing up. I'm getting my energy up. I'm getting in a mindset to kick, you know what, and take names, and we're doing this. And I feel like a lot of it is your mindset. If I were to sit down and be like, well, nobody's going to get on the phone today. I suck at this. I can't do this. This is too hard. You're just giving your subconscious a dose of it's never going to work. So I feel like you've got to like raise your energy and do some affirmations, listen to some good rap music, whatever. But it really is a mindset. And I was scared to death. The first time I ever started cold calling was like 2015, and someone answered and I hung up. That is real life. I was like, done. What are we doing? So they called me back and I was like, oh, I think we got disconnected. I'm so sorry. That is normal. Like if you think, oh, I'm having all these feelings and I'm not going to be good at this, somebody who can cold call in front of a room of 50 people with no issue now was this girl sitting at her dining room table, like deer in headlights, hanging up on clients. So it is a mindset. Like I said, at the time, I was like, I have to do this or I cannot pay my bills. Like it was do or die for me. And so I did it. But I think it's mindset.
Yeah, just well, real quick, what song are you playing?
Oh God. Well, I play a lot of Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre.
Sometimes you need that inner gangster to come out to make some cold calls. That's
I
for
like
sure.
blare it all the way, and I'm like hyping myself up as I'm like going through my list of who I want to call today. Like I'm getting in a zone.
Yeah.
It's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing. I love it. I mean, I think I do the same thing too to get hyped up before anything really. So you sometimes got to raise that energy, which is important for sure. You know, they got those old sayings that go, you know, what you focus on expands. So if you're going to focus on the negative, of course, it's going to expand. I remember, you know, my first time really getting into the cold call scene. And I told somebody exactly what Micah said, which is I'm going to feel like I'm going to bother them. I'm going to bother them. They don't want to hear from me. It's going to feel spammy and solicited and the whole thing. And he was like, he looked me dead in my eyes and I needed this. He was like, yeah, but you really don't have the right to make that choice for them, do you? I was like,
That's right.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I mean, I don't like, who am I to make a choice for them? I don't have that right. And really that's the mind check I needed. And so everyone I called, I made sure that, you know, they were going to tell me they didn't want to hear from me versus me assuming and putting that on them. And I don't even know them, putting them that on them, that they're going to be that negative person and they may be the happiest person in the world. And so when he looked at me in my eyes, I just freaking melted when he said that. And that's the mindset that I needed, the mind check that I needed, the kind of punch in the face that I needed before I went in and started cold calling. He said, you don't really have the right to make that choice for them, do you? And I was like, shoot. So that's what helped me. And I wanted to say that.
It's
Well,
awesome.
I think like both of you just mentioned, when you genuinely believe in your heart of hearts that you're helping people and you're not soliciting them and you're not bothering them, and as Ruben just said, you don't want to make decisions for people. And then the other part of it, and you guys have heard me probably say this a million times, Tony Robbins always talks about it's 80% psychology and mindset and energy and 20% strategy. So a lot of times we're focusing on the how to, as opposed to if I call and I'm just like, hey, where are you looking to buy? Like my energy is so low, right? So that makes a huge difference. Sarah said JB likes to sell it like it's hot.
Sarah, I love you. That's
So
funny.
okay, so we've gotten rid of the limiting beliefs. We're going to set what I always call the power hour, whether that's 1 hour or 2 hours minimum every single day. Agents should be prospecting every single day. That's how you're going to control the outcome of your business. I think the other part of it, and Ruben's going to appreciate this because he's a numbers guy, is you need to also understand and know your hourly worth, right? There's his numbers. Understand your hourly worth, because when you call 100 people or you door knock and you have no, 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 it's really understanding what your worth is, and it's that much closer to the yes. So how do you kind of come up with that, what your hourly value is, especially in times that you are getting a lot of no's?
It's to me, it's 2 hours a day. It's non-negotiable. My husband, I try to keep those like standing. I'm getting back into cold calling expireds and FISBOs. There for a long time, we had no expires in our market, but I'm getting into that. So it's 2 hours non-negotiable. I try to keep it a standing meeting. So like my husband and my kids know, like unless somebody's hurt or something's genuinely happened, I'm not going to answer. I don't take any calls in those 2 hours, and I'm so dedicated. I don't let myself get distracted. I am literally calling, going through my database, going through my past clients, like really getting focused. And that's just a non-negotiable. I like to knock it out first thing in the morning, but when you really honestly get into prospecting on a regular basis, you realize that a lot of people work. So you have to do it in the evenings or on the drive home, like four to six is a good time, or even, I don't like to call really past 7:30. But just being very, it's a non-negotiable. Like I have a goal to go to Israel in January, and I have a really big listing goal that I want to meet. And and I love doing that for myself because I set these big goals, and then I'm like, get out of my way. I've got to do this, and I think you just have to make it really big. It used to be like I cannot take my kids on summer vacation if I don't hit this much in production. And I cannot even imagine looking at my three boys being like, well, we can't go because I didn't want to do my work.
It's all right, guys. I
So
can't take you to Disney this year. Right.
sorry.
Sometimes we got to do a little jab at ourselves,
Yeah.
right?
So for me, it's always worked to put a really big goal behind it, and just it's non-negotiable. Like it's like eating lunch or whatever, breakfast. Like we have to eat every day. So you just have to do it. Like you just have to clear everything out of your schedule for those 2 hours a day and let nothing distract you.
Speaking of distractions, I'm here working at the hotel and they just decided to turn some music on. So we've got some music to dance to now.
Is it Snoop Dogg?
Yeah, I was gonna say
Not Snoop Dogg.
Snoop Dogg. Go to the jukebox. Um, but yeah, what was I gonna say on that? Oh, one, I bet Micah loves that you want to go to Israel. I bet that's pretty
Yes.
cool.
I'm very excited. It's a life goal.
Yeah, that's so cool. So three things on this. One, when I was my first year in real estate, I drilled a whiteboard into the wall, and I tracked how many people I talked to, how many appointments that was, closings, blah 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 blah. And then I would track my commissions. So all I did back in the day was divide my commission into how many contacts I made, not closings, not appointments, how many contacts, like how many people I talked to. So then I knew how many people I talked to in order to get an X amount of money, whatever. So that really started to help me understand kind of how much a contact was worth. The second thing is I knew somebody who figured that number out, went to the bank and got a stack of ones or 20s or whatever, 10s, 5s, whatever it was. And every contact he made, he moved it across the table. So he had a visual of how much money he made and how much each. So we love people, and relationships are number one. But for him, it was very much numbers and money that was going to fund the things that he wanted to do. And maybe it was philanthropy, right? Like, I don't know, no judgment at all, but that's what helped him. Which I thought that was pretty cool. And in number 3, I would say you need to talk to Ali Garced. She has figured it out. She has got an Excel spreadsheet. It is so sick. She knows her hourly rate and figured out that buyers, she's worth more with buyers than sellers, which is interesting because it's against, conventional thinking. So I would 1000% talk to her. She's now moved her whole business into a referral-based business and capped doing it. Because she figured out she really leaned on her hourly worth, but she tracked it. Brand new agent, by the way, first year agent for anybody. So yeah, you got to bring her on to like a cool little sesh about numbers because she kills it with numbers.
I think I'll be reaching out to her after this, and we'll have a whole nother follow-up session for next week.
Love it. She's
so
awesome.
And I've even heard this, if you go a little bit old school, one of our friends, so if you're not into numbers and figuring out how much money per contact or how much you're worth on an hourly rate, is, when he got started, he has 2 pockets, and he would have a pocket full of nickels. I think he has a boat called the Nickel. So if you guys know who I'm talking about, he has a pocket full of nickels, and by the end of the day, those nickels needed to be in the other pocket. So every time he made a call, he transferred 1 nickel to the other pocket, right? So, it doesn't have to be, if you're not super into math and numbers, just really doing something simple like that. I like the contact idea, because when people are telling and that every call you make is worth, I'm just throwing a number out there, $25, then okay, I just made $25. I just made $25, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's incredibly important. And if we think about, Thomas Jefferson, right? How many times did he try to get electricity? And it was no, no, no. What happens if he would have given up? I think the world would have been much different.
Yeah, for sure.
If he had given up. So what advice do you have for agents right now, especially as we've seen some major shifts in the market this year, and as production has changed, and a lot of us, even those of us that have been in the industry a long time, are going back to some of those foundational skills. What advice do you guys have for the agents that are getting a lot of no's? There's a lot of hurt and maybe unmotivation right now to stay motivated in a very difficult time.
Well, I think you've just got to stay the course. I know that's much easier said than done. It sounds very cliche. When you're starting out, you're very frustrated. I get that because I was there. But I think you've got to stay the course. I think you've got to surround yourself with people who are going to lift you up. Find your circle of positive people that are going to help you get in a good group of agents that maybe want to do the same thing and hold each other accountable. Now in my career, I hold people accountable, and I still have people that hold me accountable. But accountability is such a gift, and sometimes it can be looked at like, oh my gosh, I didn't do my stuff. They're going to yell. Like, that's not what accountability is. Accountability, it is to your goals, and we all need accountability in our lives. So you just got to stay the course. It's hard, but anything in this life is hard. So just remember that, and just set. I heard this once, that the word like decide, that side, whatever that's called, is to cut off any other option. So you literally have to decide that this is what you want to do, and just block out everything else and do it.
Yes, exactly. Totally agree with that. And I'll say this because I had someone message me the other day and was like, "Hey, can we jump on a call? I need to get motivated again." And I kind of went at her a little bit. I was just like, motivation is crap. Like, motivation is so temporary. Like, it doesn't, for me to jump on a call for you to have a motivation like sprint for 30 minutes and then what, right? Like, so if you're not being motivated right now, hey, raise your hand, right? Like, raise your hand, business owners, if you're not feeling mega motivated all the time. It's not part of the formula. Part of the formula is consistency. And that's why JB was like, yo, just threw it in the calendar. It is what it is. No one bothers me here. I got to do what I got to do. It's kind of my business eating, or no, you eating. It's like eating. Never mind. Yeah, it's like the business eating. And because it's consistency, it's in your calendar and you just do it. And that's why we gave you some of these strategies and confidence builders to be consistent. But motivation, be okay with it coming and going, because for whoever, it's just not going to be there. It's not going to be there 100% of the time. And you listen to all the successful people. Listen to athletes. They're like, you think I liked waking up at 4 a.m. to go work out that no one ever saw? And I heard someone else say this, that the worst thing that the human can say to their self is no one would ever know. Because there are those moments where you're supposed to wake up at 4 and go work out, right? Or whatever for an athlete. And you wake up at 4:30. Right? Because no one would know. Who would know? Who's checking up on this dude at 4? No one would ever know. But you're letting yourself down. You're letting that discipline down. You're letting that consistency down. So motivation, whatever. But you have to get into a practice of being consistent. And I'll say, to piggyback off JB, to find somebody who cares less about your feelings, wants the same things, if not more than what you want, and you both hold each other accountable to doing those activities in that time that you've dedicated to. And both of you won't be motivated 100% of the time, and that's okay.
I love it. And what's the phrase that we see the glory, but we don't see the story, right?
Yeah.
It's easy to look at the top producers in your market and say, well, I wish, but we didn't know what it took in order for them to get there. And the reality is I agree with both of you in terms of accountability. You know, my spouse is my accountability partner, and we're very good at kicking each other's butt. But at the same time, the reason being is nobody's going to care more about your goals than you do and your family does. So back to Ruben and the motivational speech. Yeah, he can go short-term motivate somebody, but the reality is nobody should care about their goals more than you do. I saw that Leslie posted here, I have a jar of 100 buttons. Each call I transfer to an empty jar until I hit 100 calls. JB, I wanted to highlight something that you said earlier, that you make your calls first thing in the morning. And I've always recommended that. If you hate calling, if you hate prospecting, if you hate door knocking, then the most important thing that you can do is get it done first thing in the morning, because then you feel like you've conquered the entire day.
Absolutely. It gives you like momentum for the day. If you've ever heard the analogy, eat the frog. I learned that years ago. I eat the frog. It's not my favorite thing to do. And to kind of go off what Ruben was saying, you guys, I've been on this fitness journey recently. I've lost some weight. I work out every day. It's like awesome. I'm doing my calls. Like 95% of the time, I am not motivated to do any of that. I do not want to get out of bed, especially when it was cold outside. I'm like in a warm bed. I'm like, ugh, have to go to the gym. When I do my calls, I'm not motivated, but I am disciplined. And if you can learn to be disciplined, like that's something that has to start in here. But yeah, I get it done. I am so accomplished by like 11 a.m. I feel accomplished by 11 a.m. because I've just done my most important income producing activity of the day.
I love that. And like you said, and then you feel like you've conquered the entire day. And I think Jesse Itzler says it best, remember tomorrow. What can you do today that your tomorrow self will thank you? And I even did that last night. I think Ruben and I were texting late last night. I was doing some different trainings and I was like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. And then I was like, no, I'm going to do it tonight instead of watching TV, because then it just frees up my time tomorrow. So literally think about that. What can I do today that my tomorrow self will thank me for? Yeah. So any last words, Ruben, JB?
I just think you got to go for it. I would say don't be scared. If you're just starting this out, you are going to be scared, and that's okay. Push through it. Believe in yourself. Have confidence. Get very knowledgeable about LP Mama and just do it. I promise if you will dedicate yourself for the next 30 to 45 days, you will see such a change in your business that it'll be an awesome story.
Yeah, and I just want to see you do it as well. So tag myself, JB, and Micah in some story that you've done X that you've been putting off that you learned to do today because of discipline and all the things we talked about. So just put it on like Instagram story, Facebook story, maybe it's a post, but tag us in it because we want to be your cheerleaders.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I love it. Well, I know we went a little bit over today, but I think it was such a great conversation and very well needed.
Yeah.
So I appreciate both of you. A lot of great content. Thank you as always. And we have Winners Wednesday every single week with JB and Ruben, our special guest on the second Wednesday of every single month. Thank you guys. Hope you have a great rest of your Wednesday.
Bye, guys.